I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the many lands on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging.
It's so wonderful that I've been invited to have a chat, and thank you everyone for coming along, and I hope that you all take something from today's session, something that maybe you haven't learned before, or something that really excites you about helping to develop your child's speech, language and also literacy. So yeah, I'll share my screen so I can share through the presentation for today. I thought before we get started, it's always really nice to know, maybe people are here just to have a bit of a listen and see if they can get some tips, but there might also be people here that have a specific reason or a goal to get out of this session. So if you all don't mind, maybe just popping in some ideas about what you were hoping to get from today's session, that would be truly helpful. But obviously I've got lots and lots to chat about. But yeah, if there are specific goals, I'd love to hear about them.
Yes, so
Okay.
we do have one person who's responded so far. He said that their son stutters a bit, so they'd like some advice on that.
Okay, lovely. That sounds nice. So we can have a bit of a chat through that as well today. So thank you.
We've just got another one that's just come up. We've recently been referred to a speech pathologist by preschool. I'm curious to see where others at a similar age should be, as it can be challenging to know with no other older children.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, it's difficult. Every child is obviously very different, and every child develops differently and at different stages. So that's a really good one, but it's great that the preschool have identified something for you. Obviously, they are the professionals in child development, so it's really good. They would know bits and pieces of what the children should be doing. So that's great that somebody's identified, but yes, we can go through some milestones and bits and pieces of where they should be at. And obviously if there's any specific questions, but it's always great to go and visit a speech pathologist to check in and make sure, are my children or is my child on track, and what can I do to help them and support them before they obviously get to school. That's always a good one as well.
And we've just got one more, Samantha. Following on from the 0 to 3 years webinar that was on Monday, I have a new granddaughter and want to help and make sure that I speak correctly and am a good example to her.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's Jenny. That's so lovely. And it's great to have you here. And it's really great that you're wanting to do that for your granddaughter. That's amazing. So definitely can help you with that. And it's great that you went to the 0 to 3 as well. So a lot of what you see today might be similar, but obviously there's a different book. And in the age group, 3 to 5 is obviously different to 0 to 3. So yeah, hopefully you get some new bits and pieces out of this as well, Jenny. Lovely. All right, well, that sounds really good. And what I might do is start with the presentation now. So basically today, what the Speechy Library Talks are all about, just to connect in with our community. So Speech Pathology Australia is our body, so Speech Pathologist Body or Professional Association, and I think they started this last year where they connected in with the libraries so that we could connect in with the communities and really identify what speech pathologists are, what we do, and how you might be able to find us and how we can help you as well. So let me just work out how, yeah, perfect. So we've chatted through a bit of that. Okay, so a little bit about me, and Michelle already shared some of this, but basically I just, this is me. I do have my own practice in Tuggerah, and I've been here now for maybe 3 years here, and previous to that, I was in Wyong, so we've moved across to a bigger space. But a large part of my role as a speech pathologist is just to ensure that that I'm supporting families and children, other professionals or early educators in working with children to support their language stimulation, so being able to use language and understand what's being said to them, and also the literacy side of things, which is we don't necessarily just read books, but we look at their phonological awareness skills, so their rhyming, their speech sounds, and looking at different ways to be able to help them with those early literacy skills to be able to then read or learn to read when they get to school. So we look at things like blending sounds together and breaking words apart. We look at syllables and being able to produce a syllable, so production of words and things like that. But yeah, that's a little bit about who I am. Now, speech pathologists are a lot of people might think speech pathologist, oh, they help me to talk. And yes, we certainly do that, but there's so many other things that are involved with a speech pathologist as well. So some of those things are the literacy skills, language, speech, voice, swallowing, different swallowing disorders, or even like fussy feeding. The other one, and it has been a question here today, is fluency. So that is all to do with a child or an adult that might be stuttering as well. So that's what we call that, is fluency. So we basically work with families to support their children, or even somebody that they're taking care of, an adult, an adult family member, to, I guess, advocate for their needs and try to help them achieve their goals. So yeah, today obviously is a lot more about the literacy side of things with speech pathology. So just to give you I guess that's a broad range of what sort of things we can do as a speech pathologist, but today will be more so about that language and literacy side of things. But also happy to answer some of those other burning questions. I think we've had a speech one and also the fluency one as well. So we'll be looking at some of that. How can the speech pathologist help you or help your child? So and the evidence behind this is quite strong, that our language skills provide the foundation for literacy. So if we are helping our children to develop their language, then when they get to school in kindergarten, they will already have some of those basic skills to help them be able to develop their literacy skills. So if they pick up a book, hopefully by the time they get to school, we would want them to be able to know what way the book goes up. We would want them to know how to turn the pages of the book, interact with the book and looking at maybe the pictures and knowing which one is a picture and a word. So there's a lot of things that you can do with your child before they actually get to school and start doing their readers, I guess. So speech pathologists play a vital role in developing sound awareness. Now, I say when I'm doing therapy with the children that I work with, I always say to them, I don't want the letters, I want the sounds. So I know there's lots of people out there who, they say, oh, my child can, say the alphabet. My child can, say every, number or letter. But when I ask them, do they know the sounds? They say, what do you mean? So I thought I might show you something a little bit fun right now, and just bear with me whilst I work out where this is, because I've put it in the back of the slides, which Michelle will be able to send through to you as well. This is the link. Okay, so it's the alphabet phonics song. Let's see if it'll work for us. And hopefully you guys will be able to hear the sound as well. I might just have Michelle let me know if that's something that you can hear on your end. Now, I just want to check, Michelle, can you hear that sound coming through there?
No.
That's okay. I'm just going to have a look and see if more share sound. All right, let's try again and I'll double check and see if you can hear that.
Yes, that's working.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we'll have a little listen to this. And this is what I mean about getting the children to think about sounds, because as a speech pathologist, we're all about sound rather than letter name.
My name is A, my sound is A, my name is B, my sound is B, my name is C, my sound is K, my name is D, my sound is D, my name is E, my sound is F, my name is F, my sound is F. Every letter has a name and a sound, every letter has a name and a sound, every letter has a name and a sound, every letter has a name and a sound. My name is...
Okay, so, and that link will definitely be in the presentation as well, or I'll have Michelle send that through to you. But that is what I'm talking about, sounds. Instead of, so it's still the alphabet, but it's done in sound form rather than letter form. Has anyone, and feel free to pop in the chat, has anyone ever seen or heard that before, or had a go with their children or their grandchildren? We can maybe do a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's all right. I'll see. Oh, there it is. Sound is important. Yes, thanks, Jenny. That's great. Thumbs up from Alex over there. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, so seeing some of those, and also from James. Excellent. That's wonderful. So yeah, thinking about sound is obviously really important in developing children's early literacy skills, because if they're learning sounds, they can then start to blend those sounds together or break those sounds apart to be able to spell and read. So that's one of the important ones there. Now, let's keep going. So why is literacy important? So there are strong links between good listening and understanding and speaking skills and the success of acquisition and literacy. So basically the evidence says if you have good listening and understanding, you will also have really good success in acquiring literacy skills. So if your child can listen to sounds and listen to language, and also using that language and speaking as well and using those sounds, then they're more likely to have success in acquiring literacy. This is another reason why it's very important, and it's one of the first things that I say to my clients when they come in: have you had your child's hearing checked? Now, this is a really important one, because when we speak about hearing, people say, oh, my child can hear me, they understand, you know, they do this, or they listen when they want to. But the most important part is, what sort of sounds can they hear? Can they hear those high frequency sounds, or can they just hear like an overall, and are they following routine? Now, some of those high frequency sounds are your S's and F's, TH, anything that we call a voiceless sound. So one where we turn our voice off. So a voiceless sound is one that we can't really hear if we do have blocked ears, or if we have constant earaches or ear infections, those sorts of things. So they need to be treated, but they also need to be tested by an audiologist. That's one of the most important things that we ask, or the first questions that we ask in our initial consult here at More Speech, because if we have our children who can't hear sound, they can't learn the sound, they can't produce the sound either. So that's a really important one. And there's also a really nice point here that language difficulties in preschool may predispose to ongoing reading difficulties. So if your child does have language difficulties or has been diagnosed with developmental language disorder, they are most likely to have more difficulty difficulties reading and writing and acquiring that complex language for school. So keeping that in mind as well and being able to work on that. So let's go and have a look at some of the things that we can do as well to help build language and literacy, because obviously that's what we want to do. We want to help our child by building their language skills. So that's their understanding of language and also their ability to express what they want or need. And then also the pre-literacy skills, so the sound-based stuff. So 3 ways that you can support your child or grandchild or child that's in your care when you're wanting to support their language and literacy is by choosing the right books for them, encouraging interactions with that book reading, or it could be just role playing in the household or some pretend play. And also keeping reading a really fun part of every day. So children don't want to sit there and just read through a book. They want it to be fun. They love when you use voices. I have a daughter and she's 5. She'll go to school next year and she just loves, and she starts giggling and giggling and giggling when I'm reading a book with funny faces or funny voices or acting it out. So she thinks that's really good, and it starts to help her imagination grow wild, and we can pretend and things like that. So especially getting down on the floor and doing that car play or Barbie doll play, or going outside and pretending the mums and dads and things like that. So those interactions with your child are really supporting their language and also their literacy. Another nice thing that I like to do is also speak to something that we do in our household, and sometimes even here in the clinic, we do speak in sound. So the children will say, "Oh, what's that say?" or and it's giving them practice to blend sounds together to make words. So we might say something like, "Oh, I saw and today," and then the child is like, "Well, what's that? What are you saying? I don't understand." And you encourage them to put those sounds together to then create a word. So they're using some of those pre-literacy skills of knowing sounds and also blending sounds together to make words. So that's a really fun way to do that. And you can pretend like it's a secret code, or if mum and dad are using it, they're going to want to use it as well. Or they're going to want to understand it. So that's a really nice one to do. So choosing books is, really important. So, when you go to the bookstore, you might pick up a book and say, "Great, this looks good," just by looking at the cover. And it's colourful and things like that. But there's actually so much in a book that makes a book really special and also really engaging and educational for a child. So you can have picture books, you can have books with just words, you can have books that have pop-up bits or things that make sound. You might have some books that have little bits that you can open up and it's a little hidey hole. So you really want to look at those sorts of things when you're choosing books for Christmas presents or birthday presents, or just gifts along the way. If you like to give a book, sometimes people are now doing give a book instead of a card or something like that. So that's really good to look at the book and what's inside of it, and also looking at how many words are on the page. Sometimes a child might look at a book and say, "Oh, we're not going to read that one unless it's nighttime," and they know there's lots of words, it's going to take a long time, but they might just close it up and not be interested. So it might be that, they're needing less words and perhaps more pictures. We actually, so Speech Pathology Australia join up each year, and we do set aside, we have judges that judge books that are shortlisted, and those books were revealed for this year, this month, and they are available in the library. So we can have a chat with Michelle afterwards and she can let you know where you can find them or if they're displayed in the library. But yeah, we've got some books that they've won the categories. And today I do have the book for the 3 to 5 year old category. But if you look out for things on a book that show that they've been chosen for a specific type of an award, they're really good books as well, because somebody, perhaps a speech pathologist, a certain type of author, or someone else with a passion and also that education behind them, are choosing books for children to read and which ones are the right ones. So you can look at that as well. So these are the 2021 Book of the Year winners for Speech Pathology Australia. So Jenny did say she came to the 0 to 3. She would have seen the Look Baby book. We've got today for 3 to 5 year olds, Boo Loves Books. And there's one here for 5 to 8 year olds, The Thing That Goes Ping. They also do another type of, I think they've got 2 other categories. One is for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. And I believe if I click on that, that'll probably go to the book, because that's what I've organized on that slide. But we can actually go to speech pathology. I'll pop it on here. And there should be. This is also a great website for not just speech pathologists. This is also for the public. So remember this one, and they do have it clearly stated up here, resources for the public. So it's quite good, but it should have, let's type in here. And it will give us a poster. We'll do the what's on. Okay. Here it is. So this is the poster. We usually put this up in the clinic as well. And wherever you go, if you see in the library, you might look out for this. But it tells you the books of the year for the different categories. So you've got birth to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 8. You've got your 8 to 10. And then you've got Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Authored Children's Book Award. And they are all on this poster. So they give you a little bit of a blurb about the book, and then also looking at that visual. When you see that visual and you think of that book, you'll know, oh, that's the Book of the Year award. I'm not sure with this one, and Michelle might also be able to help me because I haven't actually seen the books in person yet. But Michelle, do they put a sticker on the book that says Book of the Year for these ones?
Look, no, we don't currently have stickers on those books, but I was actually just thinking about that it would be great to mark those books in some way, and also, you know, in the catalogues have a search criteria there so that these could be easily searched. We definitely do go through the lists each year and make sure that we have all of those, not just the winners, but the shortlisted books as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, displaying these posters, I think, will help as well.
That's great. That's really wonderful. And on that one, I know that there was a question that came through regarding cataloguing books that have semantic and syntactic patterns and things like that. Obviously, I have no idea about cataloguing, but it definitely is a great question, that one. And it'd be really good to chat with some of my colleagues who that I'm, you know, in a group with, and just check in. So I might get some more answers to that question. But yeah, the cataloguing of books, you know, is quite a skill. And I think it's really important that we do have librarians, and knowing that we can go to the library and ask them exactly where a certain type of book is. So also use your local libraries, because they are there for you. And of course, they want to help, because they also have the passion that we as speech pathologists have of wanting people to learn to read, but also read to learn, which is nice. So that one is, so there I've showed you a little bit of Speech Pathology Australia website, but also this poster of Book of the Year award. So if you're looking for them, this is where that was. Let's go back. And we can have a little look at the book so that you guys can see how some good tips, I guess, for how to read a book. And do I read a book just from, the front to the back and just read the words? What are the best ways to read a book? So I think I might use this part of the presentation just to check in and see with everyone, how do you like to read books to your children or the children in your care? How do you think they enjoy that the most? Or maybe they don't like books at all. I'd love to know about that as well. So take some time to answer that one for me. Before bed, thanks, Carrie. Yeah, before bed is a really nice time. Kids love to snuggle up in bed, and they know that they might get, a few books, and they love just the attention with their families, like with their carers or their parents as well. That's a really nice one. Anyone else that would like to share? Yeah, great, Jenny. Yeah, love books. Bit funny. Yeah, the toilet humor, Kerry. That's right. They love that, don't they? They love funny things, especially, toileting or anything about poo or smells or anything like that. And if we can get their engagement or, the motivation to get them, there to actually open the book, that's also good as well. Sarah's popped in here. We don't read the story, just talk about what we can see. Love it. That's really nice, Sarah. And that's one of the things I love to do with the books as well. So that's lovely. Yeah, great. Lovely. Thank you. Thanks everyone for sharing. I'll just pop this one down. Yeah, books about finding things are quite good. That's good as well. Yeah, where to find. Yeah, look for the ball. That's great. So like a Where's Wally type thing. So in that, you're working on receptive language as well. So are they understanding the words, the vocab that you're using? Are they understanding that preposition of where? Where is something? So really nice. Great. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. That's so good. I love to hear about people's adventures with book reading. So we've got Boo Loves Books. So let's go and have a little bit of a look at Boo Loves Books. All right, so this is the book. It is obviously available in the library as well. So feel free to grab that book, and you can have a practice as well with what we do today. But sometimes what's really great when you get a book like this and it's quite colourful, you want to ask the child, who do they think people are? So those WH questions are going to really structure that book reading time, I think. So WH, who, what, where, when, why. Those questions throughout a book are amazing to use. So right here, we can say something like, oh, who do you think Boo is? So we don't know who Boo is yet, but which one do you think Boo is? And maybe why? Why do they think that? So it could be a reason. You might even just ask them, oh, what's your favorite book there? So they might point out one, or they can explain, their favorite color or something like that. So that's really nice. The cover also gives us a bit of a clue into what this might be about. So you can ask them about that as well. So what do you think this is all about? And hopefully with this one, this is actually a beautiful story, this one. But yeah, this one is obviously lots about books. So yeah, when I do book reading with children, I like to get them to interact with me as well and turn the pages. Obviously here I'm doing it with a computer, but getting them to turn the page and, oh, can you turn the page for me? Let's see. And it really gets them involved. So they can't read it, and maybe sometimes they don't want to listen. A lot of kids don't want to sit down, but I find that even if they're jumping around, obviously at school they need to sit and listen and they'll learn those skills there. But even if they're not really keen on wanting to read the book because it means sitting down, you might read books while they're in the bath. You might read a book while they're jumping on the trampoline. They're still getting the language. And each time you ask them a question, they might bounce over from the trampoline and come and look, and then they're able to answer. So never give up on book reading. It might not be snuggled up in bed, you know, having a nice quiet read before bed. It might be that they need the book when they're eating breakfast, or they might really like to have the book when they're down at the park or something like that, so they can run, have a bit of a slide, come back, have a look at the book. So always remember that book reading doesn't have to be a sit down task as well. So yeah, this one here, obviously, you know, there's lots of things that you can kind of ask and talk about in this. You can also read the words. Reading the story is really important because they're getting the structure. They're getting the structure of a sentence, structure of a story, so that there's a beginning and an end and things going on in the middle of the story. So it is really important that we do not always read with pictures, but we read those words. But whilst we're reading those words, maybe going through and asking questions. You might wonder why your child really loves to read the same book over and over again. Has anyone wondered why they always pick the same books? I'll leave. Yeah, see a thumbs up over there. Yeah, kids just love structure and routine. They want to learn. So to learn is to do something over and over and over again. So you might find that your child just keeps picking the same book, and you say to yourself, we already read that one. We read that one last night. Let's read a different one. But they're actually wanting that book over and over again. One, so they can understand what's going on in the book. They might need to hear it a few times, just like we would if we were learning something new. And the other thing, they might just like to hear your voice in that story. So it might be a certain thing that made them feel really good or really happy, or it was really funny. So that also makes for the book to be really exciting for them. So yeah, that's a good one. We'll head back in. I'm also obviously happy to read through the story. I like to do that with the kids, but we'll head back to the presentation. I'm just going to hide that chat box. And okay, so encouraging interaction. So let your child hold the book. That's what we're saying here, and turn the pages. Talk about the pictures. Talk about the vocab around the different pictures that you see. You can maybe make connections with their life about a certain picture. So in that book with the book that we just opened, Boo Loves Books, you might say, oh, this is a classroom. This is where you're going to be going to school. This is what classrooms look like. Or do you remember when you went to orientation, you saw the classroom? Or it might be, oh, does your classroom look like this if they're a little bit older? But really connecting the story with the child as well. I think the little girl in the book goes through some feelings and emotions. So it's a really nice little book about her journey with not really liking books. And then she learns to love books because she gets to read it to Boo. But with that particular story, it would be nice to connect those emotions as well with your child. Oh, do you remember that time that you felt really sad, or you felt really scared? Or maybe tell me a time that you felt really happy, just like Boo, or something like that. So it's really nice to be able to talk about emotion, which will help with connection as well. Yeah, pointing to words and pictures and letting them know what is a word. That's a word. Maybe you might ask them, what sounds, or what sound does this make, or which letters are in your name? You might talk about the different letters in the book as well, so it's nice to do that. And then, yeah, again, they've got reread the books over and over again. This obviously helps with them, with their language structure, but also down there it's telling us about connection between letter names and sounds. Yeah, and you can do that right there where it says dog, so it's d-o-g, you can start to do that, blending that together to show them, oh, it's a word. So you might, for example, let's go and open up that book again. You might go maybe to this page and you might say, show me the one that is p, e, n. So they have to then put those sounds together and point to the one that is a pen. Or you might say, which one is, and you might clap the syllable. Oh, can you point to me the one that is teacher? So it's 2 syllables, clapping out the syllables. Or it might be something like, what sort of pictures are the children drawing? Can you see? And what sort of picture would you draw if you were at school? So those sorts of questions for that page is quite nice. But yeah, blending words and, like I said, making a bit of a game of it. The kids seem to love that as well. I'll go back here. Okay, so keeping reading a fun part of the day. We also talked about this, so making sure that we're not always just sitting down to read, making it a bit of a fun game. Kids love stories out of your mouth too. So keeping it fun by saying on the way home from preschool when you pick them up, or maybe on the way to a particular activity, I'm going to tell you a story from my mouth. So kids love stories that are with pictures, but also keeping it fun and making a bit of a game by telling them a story from your mouth, and they have to visualize that for themselves. There's lots of evidence in speech pathology about visualizing and verbalizing. So it's really important as well to ensure that when we're asking a child to listen and understand, we also want to give them practice to do that. So we can't expect them to go to school, listen to the teacher and know what to do. We want to give them practice at that by, let's tell a story from our mouth, or let's give some instructions from our mouth without any help or support. So making that fun. What have they said here? Using some silly voices. So that's a good one as well. Acting out. We've done that one. And reading for 10 to 15 minutes is obviously the aim. That's good. That's really great. I would say to make it more, some people might say, oh, 10 to 15 minutes, that's maybe a long time or not enough time. Even if you are doing stories out of the mouth plus books at home, but at least one sort of story or acting out a day or storybook would be a wonderful goal to head towards, which is great. My child is already reading, so this is an exciting stage when they start to read, and they can kind of, you really start to see them creating things in their own mind and wanting to write or wanting to read. But you keep up with that. Sometimes as parents, we want our child to do the best they can, but we might be putting a lot of pressure on reading. So it might be something that we continue to make really fun. So when they have a reader that comes home from school or something like that, keep it the way that you were doing it, with like asking questions. And then when you're doing that blending and segmenting, help them along with the book. So if there's a word that they can't actually get, you might actually just clap it out for them in syllables. So they're still learning, oh, this is how I can read. So it's not all about look at the word, do you remember what it is? We might use the sounds and show them how we can do that. But like they say here, keep reading to your child. I don't know if any of you remember, I still remember now when my mum used to read to me. It was probably one of the most special memories that I have. And I really loved when she read, and she even continued to read chapter books to me when I was older, even when I was able to read myself. I just loved to hear her voice, and I loved that time with her. But I also loved learning so much, because you're not actually doing the reading, you're just doing the listening. So it's really nice to get that as well. Now, if your child speaks in multiple languages, so anyone here with us today whose child might speak more than one language? it's really quite clever, you know, when the children are learning and they're putting together words from both languages as well. I work with quite a few clients that they have multiple languages. They're quite clever. They have so much vocab, and sometimes it's just the structure that's very different for, you know, English and then perhaps a different language. I've got one here, granddaughter, when she's able to with her mother. Oh, Slovakian, lovely, Jenny. That's great. Yeah, very interesting. And so structure of, you know, that language might be very different to English. So it's important for us to keep that in mind for our children. We obviously want to encourage them to read and speak in multiple languages. So that's really good. It might be that when they go to school, they just use English. Maybe at home, they just use the language that their native language. But encouraging both is really nice. Encouraging them by letting them pick the books. You might have English books, but also of your own language you might have as well. Yeah, and it says as well, letting your child to code switch between languages as often as they want, rather than, no, that's not English. Remember, we're doing, you know, that we're using this language at home or what have you, because that helps their brain to categorize. So our brains are like little filing cabinets or, you know, bedrooms with drawers. We want to show them how we can categorize those sorts of vocabulary, like, you know, whether it's a verb or a noun, or maybe it's the structure of the sentence, so subject, verb, object, or, you know, whatever it might be in that language. So they need to practice that as well. Yeah, so that's a good one. And let's see. Okay, talking about some typical skills for this age. So preschool years are exciting because children make sense of their world, their thoughts, their feelings. You start to see your child is growing up, and you start to see that they're understanding so much more, but also using language, and you think, wow, where did that come from? Or when did they hear that? So it's a really important time at this age, 3 to 5. They start to use 3 words in their sentence. So if you think of your child as being, you know, 3 years old, they should be starting to put that 3 words together in their sentences. They can follow multi-step instructions, like put your bag away and wash your hands. You see this a lot in preschools as well. They start to use much more complex and multi-step instructions with the children. Looking you in the eyes, so that they can be giving you that eye contact, understanding that words in books have meaning, so they're not just words or something in the book, they actually mean something, so we can show that to them as well. Same with our sounds. So if your child, for example, says the word tat for cat, you can say to them, oh, I don't know what a tat is. I know what a cat is. I wonder if you meant cat with a cut sound. So really looking at, sorry about the noise in the background, really looking at meaning for children. So to change something, we really need to know the meaning or the facts about that. Yeah, and looking at books from left to right. So children in this age, 3 to 5, really do start to understand that you can turn the pages and it is from the left to right. And that's how they're going to obviously write and read. So it's really good for them to learn that skill. These were some of the resources and games that I thought I'd collect. There's quite a few that I love. So there's the Teach a Monster to Read. This is great for learning phonics and sounds. These are mostly all phonics based ones, but there's also that spelling play one is quite an interesting one for language structure. So that one's good. Letterland phonics. Now, a lot of them do come from the UK rather than from the US, because the US have different sounds. So we do use a lot of resources from the UK, or we try to get the ones that are our Aussie ones and Aussie sounds, which is good. But there's some great links here for you guys to have a look. I'll make sure Michelle gets those ones to you as well. That alphabet song in there. But yeah, this one's my favorite one, Teacher Wants to Read. I really love that one. So if you're looking for a link, I don't have my iPad in here, but there's actually quite good on the iPad, if you're wanting, a bit of time to yourself, but you don't want your child to sit there and watch, YouTube and things like that, you can lock the iPad down and give them some phonics stuff. And there's one called Oz Phonics, so OZ, and then phonics. And that is all Australian made. So it was from a speech pathologist who kind of put that together. And it is all our early literacy skills. So it'd be really great for this age as well. So it's Oz Phonics, and I think it comes in Oz Phonics stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, maybe, unless they've got extra. So that's a good one. I've just got a question here from Kerry. Sorry, Kerry. How to help a child that instinctively wants to read from back to front? Well, that's also lots of fun. So if that, depending on how old they are, if that's a way to get them really enjoying the books, and enjoying the books, and like they like that, but you can show them that things have beginnings and endings. So it doesn't have to be a book. You can say, oh, this is the beginning of the train and this is the end of the train, or this is the beginning of, I can't think right now, the beginning of the sandwich, and now we've finished it. So to teach them like beginning and end is actually really good idea. So you can do that with the book as well. If we start at the end, that's going to be really funny because we won't know all of the characters, and you can tell them again that meaningful based stuff. So I wouldn't start with the book. I would continue to let her read, or him or her read the book from back to front, if that's what they would like to do, and encourage them to engage with the book correctly after you've explained that concept of front and back or beginning and end. And really finding great examples of beginning and end as well, so that you can show them, well, we can't start at the end of a sandwich because it's finished. And really finding good examples that you can give to them and let them visualize that it's important from front to back. But great question. And that's very interesting. I love kids that do things their own way, but still they're learning and they're interacting with that book. So that's wonderful. So what if my child is having difficulties? So speech pathologists are here to support you and your child. You may not notice things yourself. Somebody might say something at a preschool, or it might not be till they get to school, but we can certainly help. So if you're not sure, or you're just wanting to check up or just make sure, definitely go and seek a speech pathologist. You can find a speech pathologist on Speech Pathology Australia. You can also contact your local health centre. So Gosford and Wyong Hospital have a community clinic that has a speech pathologist there, or multiple speech pathologists. They usually there will be a wait list, but they'll put you on the wait list. They will see you, identify some things they can help you with, and they might recommend you go and see a speech pathologist privately, or they might be able to give you some programs as well to work through. But yeah, if you need to find a speech pathologist, you can pop on to find a speech pathologist on Speech Pathology Australia. How can your librarian help you? There's lots of things that the librarians can help you with, and that's what we were talking about before, making sure that you use your local community, use the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge that the librarians have about books, and different types of books that might be really good for your child. The libraries actually do have, pre-COVID, they have little groups that you can bring your child to, and they do book reading, so they do games, and they do teach you a lot of things, and I'm sure they'll start back up as well. But yeah, you can ask them pretty much anything about a book, or a certain type of book that you like, or a certain type of book that might be good for your child, and they will be there to help you.
Yeah, just to follow on from that, Samantha. Yes, we do. We have baby times for 0 to 2 year olds. We have toddler time for 2 to 3 year olds, and then we've got story time for 3 to 5 year old. That we're not running those in branch at the moment. We're really hoping to introduce those again, reintroduce those in the new year. However, we are running at currently some online activities. So we have story time 2 times a week on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10:45, and we have baby time every second Tuesday at 9:45. So yeah, they're really lovely early literacy programs. So along with reading books, we do singing and rhyme. So really looking to increase vocabulary, learn about our bodies and the world and the things around us, look at, communicating words and emotion, and also provide a really bonding experience with your child, particularly for baby time as well. But yeah, we'll keep everyone updated on our Facebook groups about those. So if you're not a member already, then please do join our Children at Your Library Facebook group, and we'll keep you posted there.
Yeah, I've been to the groups with my daughter when she was growing up, and went to the different ones that you had running, and she loved them, and it's really good for social skills as
It
well.
really is.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's amazing. So yeah, and especially at this time, for this age group, due to COVID and having the children not being able to go anywhere, even they weren't, I don't think, able to go to some of their preschools and their daycares, they've missed a lot of that social skill building. So those groups,
Absolutely.
yeah, will be amazing when they can come back up and be up and running for that. So keep that in mind for your little ones as well. Go to the park, go to the playground. All of those different things will help with their social skills, which obviously tie in nicely with their language as well. So, but thank you. That's great. And I think that is, this is the resource tab that I did show you guys before about Speech Pathology Australia, and it says public resources or resources for the public. So that's really good as well. And I think, yeah, I think that's all. So we could probably do some questions now. If anyone had, I'll check in the chat. Our Children at Your Library Facebook group is a great place to keep up to date on events. Love that, Alex. That's great. Yeah, that's really good. That's a nice one. I'll have to add that one to my Facebook groups. Yeah, it's really good to check in with any sorts of groups like that might be able to share some information with you. I did have a couple of questions that came through. Michelle had sent them through, so I think I addressed one regarding the cataloguing. The other one was about the g and the k sound for a 4-year-old. Any tips on how to help children with words beginning with those letters? Or those sounds, as I like to say. This is a really good one. This is actually a process that the child is using. It's generally typical of 3 to 4-year-olds. It generally fades out at 4, and it's a process called backing that the speech pathologist, if you wanted to see a speech pathologist, they would be able to assess that, and that's what they would be seeing there for your child. So backing is something that we see in children developmentally between that 3 and 4, and then after that we do recommend that they get some help with that, because it's quite tricky. So the k and the g are sounds that happen in the back of our mouth, and sometimes children just don't use the muscles in the back of their mouth, which make it really tricky for them to be able to say those sounds, I guess. So we can definitely, as speech pathologists, help with that. So hopefully that's answered that question. Tips for how to say the word, I always start at the end. So when we develop or acquire a sound as a child, we develop it from the back to the front. So if you're working on k and g, we always start with final k and g. So it might be dog. So it's got to be the g. But it's really nice just to show them how it's made in their mouth as well. So it's made in the back of your mouth. It's a back sound, and it goes g, g, g. So you might have to show them the sound on its own first is really good. So we talk about sound in isolation. The other question was regarding, stuttering and fluency, how best to help them overcome this. Now, fluency, there's a lot of research that that is out there regarding fluency, and there's lots of unknown as well with stuttering and fluency. At the moment, the research suggests that it's really important, and it's hard, but it's really important to ignore the stutter that the child, and just hopping down on their level and saying to them, I'm here, I'm listening to you, and I've got all the time in the world for you. So really just letting them have the time to say what they want to say. We do have a preschool program that we use called the Lidkin program, which uses smooth and bumpy words, and it's quite an intensive program. So that's a good one for preschoolers. Generally with stuttering, we find that it is quite cyclic. So it will come and go, and you'll wonder, wow, I thought we were done with that, and it comes back again. And it's generally triggered by some sort of an event that might be happening in the child's life. They might be starting a new preschool, or they might be having a new baby brother or sister. They might, something might have happened, maybe mum and dad, some troubles in the family, and they're moving out or something like that. There's usually something that might have happened for that to actually flare up again. Also, fluency, I guess, ties hand in hand with psychology as well. So they do become, that's why we say ignore, because they do become quite aware of it, and they do become quite anxious about it and knowledgeable about that. And it does make, it tends to make that worse. So if you're wanting to help your child with fluency and stuttering, it's really good to get hold of a speech pathologist and get some advice from them, because it is quite a tricky one. It depends on their age and also their severity. That's a big one as well. So we test or assess their severity by doing samples of language and calculating it on a fluency calculator. So that's how we assess it. And then we determine whether it is severe or not enough to start therapy. So it's good to reach out and get some support for that one. I don't think there was anything else. I hope that I didn't miss anything whilst I was chatting away there, but if I have, let me know. But I'll be quiet for a little while just in case there's more questions.
Did anyone else have any other questions for Samantha or myself?
And that's okay, there's probably lots of information, coming at them. But thank you everyone for coming on. That's wonderful. It's so wonderful to have you all here.
Yeah, look, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for today's session. And also thank you very much to Samantha as well. It was incredibly interesting to hear about how children's language skills develop, but also get some really practical advice on how we can help this process as well. I've just seen someone in the chat room posted, I missed the younger chat. Am I able to watch a recording? Yes, we did actually record the session. So we will be posting that on the Facebook group later this week, and also on our YouTube channel as well. So yes, that will be available to you to take a look at. So yes, if you did miss that one, then please do take a look. It's great to learn more about kind of speech development, for very different age groups and how we can assist that process. And so, yes, that brings our presentation today to an end. Thank you all for joining us. And a big thank you again to Samantha for your time today.
Thanks, Michelle.
And yes, we hope you enjoyed the session, and we hope to see you all soon. Enjoy your days, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.